Hey guys, welcome back to The Bright Side. Macy here, The Bright Side Girl, and today we're going to be doing my Retoldathon reading wrap-ups. Retoldathon is my retelling themed readathon that we do in August. This is the second year for it. It was a little bit of a disaster because I was not feeling the best during the readathon, and I had just come back from vacation, so we were a little bit crazy and unorganized, but I did manage to read a total of 6 books and I enjoyed all of them, so I'm excited to share them all with you. These are the majority of the things that I read for August. I think I only read 1 or 2 books outside of this, so my other August reads will be in my September reading wrap-up, so stay tuned for that as well. Alright, so we're going to go in order of star ratings. So I did pretty good. I didn't have any 1 or 2 stars, thankfully. I had 2 3 stars. I'm not sure which one was the lower end of the 3 stars. We'll talk about Vinegar Girl, which I've been meaning to read for so long. This is a short, almost kind of novella style book. This is adult. This is by Ann Tyler, and this is a Taming of the Shrew retelling in a modern setting. We're following Kate, who I believe is Russian, in a Russian family. She lives at home with her sister and her eccentric scientist dad. She's always kind of getting in trouble at work, but her preschoolers really adore her and she's very helpful to the family. Her father spent some time in the wilderness and is on a breakthrough in scientific discovery that could help millions of people, but his brilliant lab assistant Piotr is about to be deported, and so he comes up with a crazy plan that his daughter will marry Piotr and he can stay here. She doesn't have many prospects anyway, and he can stay here and continue his research. So we've got a little Taming of the Shrew situation. This was very, very cute. I wasn't sure at first. I was not really feeling it, but I did like the crazy kind of family dynamic and the silly characters, but I did wind up liking this overall. It was like a 3.5 star. I thought the little romance that developed was cute. It was really cute and funny, almost kind of like a cozy style book. And this one knocked off one of the bingo challenges, which was a Shakespeare retelling. Then we have Stung by Bethany Wiggins. This is the first in a duology. I've completed the duology now and I can say that I did really enjoy it. Again, another like 3.5 star, which is not a bad rating for me. 3 stars for me means it was just kind of a solid read overall. In this one, our main character wakes up and she's basically lost 10 years of her life. Like, she doesn't remember the last like 10 years. She wakes up and society's completely different. Things have fallen apart. There's this plague that has happened and it's very dangerous to be a woman in this world, and she kind of has to be on the run. I don't want to give away too much because it will give away plot points in the book. It has a few things to do with bees, which is really interesting. It's a fairly typical dystopian, but also kind of unique. Has a little romance in here. It's got some fun elements. It's a very quick read. If you need something to kind of break up the other books that you're reading, this is a good one. And this is young adult, and it's technically a very, very loose Sleeping Beauty retelling. A little bit of sci-fi, a little bit of dystopian. Next are the 4 stars, and we have Mistress of Evil. This is a backstory on Maleficent. This is part of the huge Disney villain series that I'm slowly working my way through. The first one is with the Queen from Snow White. I do recommend starting there because they do heavily connect together. There are new characters that you haven't met like through the movies and things, and this is all like the backstory of how they kind of became to be the villains they are, and they do tie in together even though they're following different villains. So this is the 4th one in the series and we're following Maleficent. It has a little bit of themes from the movie, but is also different. I don't want to say too much because it will spoil things from the other books, but I did enjoy this one. These are a little bit of a darker reads. They are young adult, quick reads as well, and this one checked off the villain backstory on the bingo challenge. Alright, we had a little bit of a Sleeping Beauty style readathon. I did not mean to do this, but some of the books I wanted to read were like all Sleeping Beauty, so bear with me. But I read What Monstrous Gods by Rosamund Hodge, and this again is a fantasy Sleeping Beauty retelling. This is young adult. This is Rosamund Hodge's newest book. She does other retellings like Cruel Beauty and Crimson Bound, which were Beauty and the Beast and Red Riding Hood retellings that I absolutely love. I was a tiny bit disappointed because she didn't have the same narrator as she did for those, but I still liked the narrator for this one. I'm going to read you the synopsis. It's just a little bit convoluted. So centuries ago, the heretic sorcerer Reuven raised a deadly briar around Nakia's palace, casting the royal family into an enchanted sleep and silencing the kingdom's god. Born with a miraculous gift, Leah's destiny is to kill Reuven and wake the royals, but when she succeeds, she finds her duty is not yet complete. For now, she must marry into the royal family and forge a pact with the god or die. So this one is really cool. It does have a small romance in here, but that's not the main plot point. There's a lot to do with the different types of gods in this world, in this fantasy setting. I really liked the like villain bad guy character in here. It was really, really cool. I just really enjoyed it. Her writing is always really good. This one again knocked off the Sleeping Beauty challenge on the bingo board. board, and this one was 4 stars. Then I read Of Beast and Beauty by Stacy J. Both of these books kind of have One Dark Window vibes. Like if you liked that book, they have slightly similar, like they're definitely very different and unique, but they have slightly similar vibes because they also have to do with kind of plague situations. In this one, the domed city of Wan, the blind princess Isra, a smooth skin, is raised to be a human sacrifice whose death will ensure her city's vitality. In the desert outside of Wan, Jim, a mutant beast, fights to save his people known as the Monstrous from starvation. Neither dreams that together they could return balance to their world. 2 different types of people in here, and they both kind of think that they're the enemy. We have this cool domed city. Our main character is blind, which is really, really interesting. We have these enchanted roses. It had a really good Beauty and the Beast tie-in, which I really liked. And we also had a perspective from our Beauty character, our Beast character, and our kind of Gaston type character, and that was really interesting as well. So this was a solid 4-star, and this one knocked off the Beauty and the Beast challenge on the bingo board. And then lastly, I had a 5-star, yay, that was The Forest Grimm by Catherine Purdy. I have been challenging myself to read 1 special edition that I own per readathon because I have been gracious enough to be sent some special editions from friends. I found a couple out while thrifting. I've gotten some on Pango, and then I also have a Fairy Loot subscription. Challenging myself to read them because if I don't like them, then I will just sell or trade them or something to pass them along while they're still popular. This one is such a unique read. This one is young adult. It is absolutely freaking gorgeous. So this is the Fairy Loot edition of the book. Once upon a time, villagers would whisper their desires to the Book of Fortunes, and its pages would reveal how to obtain them. All was well until someone used the book for evil. Afterward, the branches of the Forest Grimm snatched the book away, and the village withered. The villagers tried to make amends with the forest, but every time someone crossed its borders, they never returned. Despite the warnings from her fortune-teller grandmother, Clara embarks on a journey into the deadly forest to procure the Book of Fortune, to reverse the curse, and to save her mother and her village. Alas, the forest is alive with dark and deadly twists on some of our most well-known fairy tales and has a mind of its own. She goes on this journey. It's set entirely in a forest, which is very cool. She winds up going with like a childhood friend, kind of love interest situation, and while they are going through, they are uncovering these different like fairy tale situations that are happening, like Cinderella, Sleeping Beauty, but they all have different twists on them, and they all tie into the main story. I thought it was beautifully done. It definitely has a slightly younger YA feel about it. Our characters, I feel like they actually do feel 16, which is kind of rare. I just want you guys to know that going in, because some of the young adult books, the characters seem a little bit older and more mature. I like both versions, but this one was so great. It was beautifully written. If you love a good fairy tale, I highly recommend this because it ties in so many of our favorites. I use this for the Brothers Grimm challenge on the bingo board because it ties in so many of the Grimm fairy tales, and I absolutely loved it. And apparently it's a duology now, or a series, and there's a new book coming out in January. I hit all the reading challenges. I cheated a little bit and used Maleficent's horns as crown on the cover because I didn't make that one in time, but I got all of the rest of them, and then I hit 5 bingo squares on here. Since 2 of my books were Sleeping Beauty, I couldn't use more than 1 for the bingo challenges, but overall a very successful readathon considering it felt like a disaster in my head. I did all of these on audiobook. I was just not in a space to physically read very much. There was just too much happening. Be sure and check out my reading vlogs. Week 1 and 2 should be already up if you guys haven't already, where I kind of go through reading these. We did do a couple of fun activities that were really neat. We went to like a fantasy themed boba bar. We did a hike to go see a Rapunzel tower. We did manage to do some fun stuff during the readathon. These are really short reading vlogs this time as well. I want to thank all of you guys so much for participating because I got so many messages that people were having so much fun and absolutely loving the books they were reading, and they don't normally read a lot of retelling, or they have never read this many and they were just enjoying all of them, and that was so fun. Like, messages like that just make me so happy. I've gotten a lot of messages too of people saying that the readathons have been like a bright spot in their year and a distraction from maybe some other hardships that were going on in their life, which is just amazing. As always, you guys can do them as intensely or as easy as you need to, but I'm always here with all the enthusiasm as much as I can to inspire and encourage and to just kind of immerse you in the theme. So I'm very excited for our next readathon, which is the Not So Scary-a-thon. The announcement is already up, so be sure and go and check that out. It's starting here very soon. I've got lots of fun videos planned for it. Even if you are not into Halloween spooky season at all, be sure and still check it out because there is an option for you that kind of ties in with Retoldathon. We're doing teams this year, so I've got 2 sets of graphics and reading challenges, and it's it's gonna be a blast. Be sure and follow me on Instagram at The Bright Side Girl if you haven't already. Thank you guys so much for participating. Let me know what your favorite book of the readathon was if you participated, and I will see you guys next time on The Bright Side.